probably going to put at least part of this presentation on YouTube. So you can log on YouTube and have a guy that's never used the machine before get on, and he's going to hear the same thing that I went over with you guys. So that's the big plan. We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cameraman is. I don't know. But and so I think in this case, I'll probably have you hold your questions until what I'll do first. I'll go around just on the operator station first, and then I'm going to ask the questions probably before we move on to something else, and then we'll end up at the boom, and hopefully that'll be on the report also. So, anyways, we'll go through. I know most of you have played with this thing a little bit, but start out here in the operator station. Most of you noticed that it's not your typical forklift; it's a hydrostatic drive forklift. And one pedal does everything. So you don't have any service brakes, no inching pedal to mess with. It's all controlled by one foot. Neutral, forward, back to neutral, reverse, and forward. So it's got a neutral detent in it. So the pedal does have to be centered in order for the engine to start. So if you're sitting on it and you might have your foot rested on the pedal a little bit, didn't even notice it, try and start, it won't start. So you need to get your foot in the center of the pedal, and the best way to do it is to get in here and then move the seat back and forth so that your foot is pretty much centered on the pedal so that you can rock it backwards and forwards. A lot of people will get on that thing and they'll drive it all with the front of their foot. When they go backwards, they're using their toe on the back part of the pedal. When they want to go forward, they go stick their foot up on top of it and go forward. But the best way is to get it right in the middle, make your foot comfortable and neutral so you can go backwards and then forwards. So, first thing is, so making sure that this is in neutral, starter. You have 4 speeds on this thing for the engine. You got idle is what you want to start in. You got 1, just 1500 RPM. 2, 2000. 3 is 2500 RPM. So this machine is capable of doing all the capacity picks that you want in the first speed on your engine. 1500 is fine. It's quieter. It moves smoother the lower you have your engine speed. Really the only reason you'd want to be up in the 2000 or 2500 range is if you're going up a pretty good sized ramp. Going up a ramp with a load, you probably want to have the engine up higher in 2000 or 2500 RPM, and then you want to stroke it as slow as you can go. So we get this call a lot of times where for the first time they're going to load it on a trailer. So the guy's loading on a trailer. Number one, he's probably not in low gear. There's a low and high switch. The next switch over from the throttle, that is your transmission, low and high. Low gear is what you want to do anytime you're working. High is really to get you from point A to point B empty. It goes 3-4 miles an hour, and so it travels fairly good. If you want to drive it from this plant over to another plant, it'll go fairly good. But in terms of control and power, being in low is where you want to be. Also, they'll be going up this ramp. If they're in low gear, they're going up, they may be trying to go up it too quick. So the faster you try to go up it, the more horsepower it draws. So it's going to draw your engine down. You'll hear your engine lugging down. You hear your engine lugging down, it's just like any other hydrostatic drive machine. You want to slow your ground speed. So you back your speed up, and so that the best grade that you can go on this machine is with the RPM up high and the speed just creeping. So, and it works like anything else hydraulic. If you're going up a ramp and it's too steep for this machine, you'll have the engine running, it'll be cranking, but the machine will actually just stop. You'll be stroking it with your foot and it won't go anymore. You've hit 6,000 PSI in your hydrostatic drive. So it's just blowing it through a relief. So that's, if you run into that situation, you're trying to go up something too steep for it. You're going to have a hard time finding something too steep for it, but it could happen, okay? A lot of times you lose traction before you lose power, because the tires are smooth and there's not a lot of grip there. But if you have a good load on it and you got some pretty good grip on your concrete, you might find a place where you're actually trying to go up something too steep for this machine. In that case, you're just going to have to back down and find another way to go. A lot of times what will happen is you'll be on a ramp coming into a building and they're going to have a lip, 1 inch, 2 inch lip just to get into the building because their concrete doesn't match. A lot of times you'll be up there and it'll be lugging, go up it. When you hit that bump, it just stops it. I mean, it's just like having to lift the whole front of this machine because those tires are so hard. It's like steel wheels on these things. So what the trick is there is to maybe hit it at a little bit of an angle. If you hit all wheels at the same time, it's like hitting up against the wall. If you can hit it at a little bit of an angle, you might go right up it. Or if you put some shims up to make it so that step isn't quite so steep, then you might just climb right up it. So it's stuff you might run into, but no matter what, I mean, things are really smooth with this machine. If you played with it at all, you know how smooth you can be with it at low speeds, which is a real benefit when you're trying to maneuver around big machinery in tight areas. You can be really slow and precise with it. So this machine will do exactly what your foot tells it to do. If you stomp on it, it's going to jerk. You move your foot into it smooth and smooth it out smooth, it's going to be a really smooth running machine for you. And that's the best way to run it. And I'd recommend anybody that gets on it for the first time, you don't throw them right into the fire and have them pick up a $1 million CNC machine and drive around with it. Maybe have them play with it a little bit, like in here, drive it a little bit, try it out, make sure the guys feel comfortable with it before you throw them right under the job. The drive is a little bit different there, and it takes a little bit getting used to, but once you do, you just fall in love with it. It's the greatest way to drive a machine. It's a little different than your tri-lifter. Your tri-lifter's got a hydraulic drive, but it's also got a parking brake for a brake. So when you stomp on that sucker, the one I drove anyway was set up that way, and it put you through the windshield if you stomped on it the right time. So it's a little different setup. This is a closed loop hydrostatic system on this machine. So the way to drive it is your throttle, set your throttle where you think you need it. Most of the time you'll just be at 1500 RPM. And the brake is your other control, your parking brake. The parking brake should be used just like you would any other forklift. Anytime you stop, set the brake. Anytime you get off the machine, you're supposed to set the brake. Especially on this machine. If you, let's say you're driving it and Joe needs a little help with a piece of wood out there, a dunnage, and you jump off the machine without setting the brake, you go over there and help him, there's a chance this machine might be still driving. You may not even notice it's driving, but it's driving real slow because you didn't quite get it in the center with the foot pedal, and the springs will center it, but then if they get dirty and who knows what, it might be creeping on you a little bit. So you might be coming up and turn around, your forklift might be heading down the aisle. So this one, more than anything, be diligent about setting your parking brake when you're not actually moving. Just reach down, it's as easy as hitting it. If you forget it, it's no big deal. It might load up the engine a little bit when you try and drive, but you're not hurting anything. Also, the high-low speed on that transmission, you can't hurt anything by shifting it. Shifting it on the fly, shift it anytime you want to. Howdy, how you doing? And so you can't hurt the machine by shifting the transmission from high to low, okay, or from low to high. It's just a hydraulic swash plate inside the motor moving from minimum to maximum. So there's no gears involved at all. There's no way to hurt. You're gonna wear your finger out before you hurt it shifting it. So no problem shifting it from high to low anytime you want.
I think we start over, but can you sort of briefly catch
Sure.
these two young men where we're at?
Yeah, if you been around this machine at all, you notice it's got
We're talking about the parking brake.
parking brake. Yeah, you want to set it and use it just like any other forklift, or it's even more important on this machine. Set the brake.
Always set it.
When you're stopped, set the brake. If you're on a ramp or on a slope, set the brake. Otherwise, it's a little bit of work to keep it on the slope. Stop. You want to stop and make sure it's staying where it is. Set the parking brake. Set the parking brake when you leave. So the worst thing that can happen is it's a little embarrassing. You get on the machine, you try and stroke it, and it lugs the engine down. You aren't hurting anything. Just reach up, take the parking brake off, right here, take it off, start driving. I already talked about the low-high switch. Is the next one. The next one is LP and gasoline. There's a switch there. This thing has got a gasoline tank here, about 12 gallons. Room for 2 LP tanks. You can run it between the two. And basically, you can switch it over and switch it back anytime you want. The valve for switching it is on the carburetor itself, so there's no time. You don't have to run one out before you start another or anything like that. You basically just switch it out whenever you want to. A lot of people get the gasoline because there's gasoline on every corner. You know, if you run out of LP tank, you go to the corner, get some gasoline, pump it in, and finish your work. But the downside is some people just leave gasoline in there, and it's 5-year-old gasoline pretty soon, and then of course it's crap when you try and use it. So that would be something to watch. You know, make sure they drain it or use it or something periodically, because most people are going to use the LP tanks. They're just easy to throw in a truck and use them all. Next switch is the counterweight, retract, and extend switch. You have 4-foot extension on this machine. You use it, we basically give you capacity chart for the counterweight in 1-foot increments. So it's 4 foot right now, 3 foot, 2 foot, 1 foot, and then all the way in. Your capacity charts are going to show what capacity you can pick at those different levels. Plus, there's a capacity chart book in here that has all the combinations of counterweights yet also. So let's say you only have a 30,000 pound and 24-inch load center load to pick up when you get to wherever you're going. You might want to leave all 4 of your counterweights back. You can go and reference your chart, see what you need to take with you and what you don't. If you don't have to take that, there's a good chance you're going to be a legal load going to wherever you're going. Because you pull all 4 counterweights off, with the counterweight, or with the boom, and the forks, you're at 42,000 pounds. So, good chance you can probably scale that on a lot of trailers anyway, and run legal with it. And you've got basically a 30,000 at 36-inch load center forklift without any counterweights. So, be able to reference that chart. The charts that are on the dash, you've got the top chart. It's forks only, just like it would be any other forklift. There's another chart underneath that, and it says boom only. The one on the bottom is booms and forks together. Okay? So there's 3 different charts there. There's 3 different charts on every possibility in this book. Okay? So you can know exactly what you're going to do. The reason we give you the 3 charts is that the 3rd chart, there's a lot of times that if, let's say you're handling a printing press. Printing presses are tall, top-heavy, narrow loads that are just flat